Hello learners, welcome to this course on preparation of research proposal in social sciences. Today we are in lecture number 19 and we are going to discuss relationship between research question and objectives. Today's discussion is of very prime importance for a research scholar to understand that how you are going to make a relationship between research question and objective. And it is not only about how you make a relationship, it is also about what actually exists, what kind of a relationship exists between research question and objective. So let us begin. Key learning themes for today's lecture, you can see here on the screen. Understanding the role of research question and objectives, interdependent relationship and its nature, translating research question into objectives, aligning questions and objective, a step-by-step approach, visual map linking research question and objectives, mistakes to avoid, and concluding discussion. So we will discuss today all these things in a very comprehensive manner. So let us begin. First is understanding the role of research question and objective. This is very important for a researcher to understand that what is the basic relationship between research question and objective. ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है कि शोध प्रश्नों में और शोध उद्देश्य में किस प्रकार का एक संबंध आपस में है, हाउ दे ग्रो एंड हाउ दे सपोर्ट ईच अदर. सो विल डिस्कस दिस. हेल्पिंग लर्नर्स understand how to align research question and objectives logically and purposefully. As you can see on the screen here, that let us take example research question. Research question guides the inquiry, they are your compass. This is very important to understand that we have discussed in the previous lectures also, that they are kind of a compass which guides your research, how you are going to conduct any kind of a research, what is your fundamental question. On the basis of that you are moving forward is being supported by research question. It is being supported by research question. And similarly, you can see here how objectives are aligning with research question. Objectives are intended outcomes of your inquiry, they are your milestone. Or you can understand it in a more simpler way, that research question is something which is being asked in the form of a question, which researcher asks in the form of a question. जो एक शोधार्थी स्वयं ही सवाल स्वयं से खड़ा करता और सवाल को पूछता है कि मैं अपने शोध में किन किन चुनौतियों को, किन किन मुद्दों को काउंटर कर रहा हूं और उससे संबंधित मुद्दों को हल करने का प्रयास करूंगा. दूसरी तरफ अगर आप उद्देश्यों को देखें, रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव्स आर इंटेंटेड आउटकम्स. एक इंटेंटेड आउटकम होता है which things are going to answer your research question. You can understand it in a such a way that research questions are being answered by objectives. What is your objective? That is going to be highly dependent and inclined over research question. Both should be aligned and coherent with each other. It's not like that whatever research question you are framing is not inclined and related to objectives, because it is very important. Try to understand the relationship between these two is that when you are forming a research question, actually you are laying a foundation for objective. Foundation for objective means what is your question which will be directly answered by your objective in the form of result that you obtained after doing some certain research. What do I want to know? This is very important. What do you want to know? Here a researcher asks some fundamental questions and raises some fundamental questions before they start anything to do in a very practical manner. They have some certain question, and these questions, what do I want to know? It is being given by research question which you form and formalize the things in a very professional manner, that this is I am going to ask, this thing I am going to address. It guides you. What will I do to find out? This is interesting thing for a researcher to understand, that what will I do to find out? What will be my steps? Steps means what will be the concrete action that a researcher will take to address research question. एक शोध प्रश्न का उत्तर खोजने में जो भी क्रिया, जो भी प्रक्रिया एक शोधार्थी करेगा, वो सारी प्रक्रियाएं उद्देश्यों से गुजरती हुई आगे बढ़ेंगी। उद्देश्य इस बात का निर्धारण करेंगे कि आप अपने शोध प्रश्नों का उत्तर कितनी सटीकता से ढूंढते हैं। हाउ एक्यूरेटली यू आर आंसरिंग योर रिसर्च क्वेश्चन विद द हेल्प ऑफ रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव। इंटरडिपेंडेंट रिलेशनशिप, ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है, इसे समझना और केवल समझना नहीं, इन दोनों के बीच के जो आपस के सह संबंध है, व्हाट इज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन दिस थिंग्स आर, फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन सी हियर द रिसर्च क्वेश्चन इज द फंडामेंटल इंक्वायरी that a study seeks to answer. It is a fundamental question that a study seeks to answer, that what I am thinking, what I want to do. It identifies the gaps in existing knowledge and provides the conceptual anchor for the research. It provides the anchor for the research. Research question leads the way to formalize and design the research objective. Here it is significant to understand this thing, that how a research question is leading the way to formalize and design the research objective. You can clearly understand it with the help of an example. Let us consider one example, that if you want to do some research related to study habit, that what kind of a study habit class 10th students are having. Definitely you have this question in your mind and you are going to answer this question with the help of objective. Then ultimately you can see the way you have thought and designed your research question. In the similar manner, following your research question, you are going to design your research objective, that to study the study habits of so and so grade students. It means whatever you are planning or whatever you are trying to plan as a researcher to form a research objective, it is somewhere being strictly guided by your research questions. The research question provides a direction to conceptualize the objective. See, when you are thinking and designing your research objectives, definitely you have a strong fundamental support with the help of review of literature, with the help of rationale of the study. But altogether, you have a strong support with the help of research question also. It guides you that this is the thing you are going to solve and you are coming with some certain probable solutions. So it helps a researcher and provides a direction to conceptualize the objective. It makes a bridge between what you want to know and how you will find out. This is the thing which makes a relationship between research question and research objectives very significant, because whatever you will do and whatever you will conduct throughout the research, you will form in a form of a proposal, and within proposal these two things, your research question and research objectives, are highly aligned together with a very clear cut intent of supporting each other. Here these two things will mutually support each other, whether research question or research objective. And you will see the moment you are going here and there related to research question and objectives, your study will become vague and it will become difficult to be focused over some certain topic. That is why it is very important for a researcher to understand and execute the relationship and mutual interdependence of research question and research objectives. Next is nature of interdependence. What kind of nature that interdependence which we are discussing is actually is? You can see here they are mutual coordination. They are mutually coordination during the research process. When you are actually going into your research process or your research work in terms of making tool or execution of your methodology part, and you are doing data analysis and analysis, all these things, research question and research objectives, plays a very important role in a form of a mutual coordination. It plays a mutual coordination. It supposes that what you have thought as a researcher and what you are actually going to achieve, it will be highly inclined together. Next is research question drives objective. Just now we have discussed it drives the objective, because you see, whenever you are planning some certain objective, it has a deep rooted fundamental structure in the form of research question. Without research question, you are not going to form any objective, because you should have some doubt, you should have some issues that I am going to find this and this. How you are going to do this, it is coming in the other components of a proposal. But when you form research question, it is very important to be very concerned regarding what kind of objective and what kind of research question you have designed. Research question provide coherence to the objective, clear cut idea, clear cut statement that as a researcher what actually you are going to do. So their nature is a very coherent thing, that whenever you form a research question, it provides you coherence to your objective. बिल्कुल, आप जो भी उद्देश्य बनाते हैं, शोध प्रश्न उसे एक स्पष्टता प्रदान करता है, और केवल स्पष्टता ही नहीं, एक दिशा प्रदान करता है कि आप किस दिशा में किस तरीके से अपने शोध उद्देश्यों का निर्धारण करते हैं, उसमें पूरी तरह से शोध प्रश्न आपकी सहायता करता है. स्कोप मैनेजमेंट फॉर द रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव, दिस इज important because you are not going to do everything in one particular research. Therefore, research questions are your guiding principles, which on the basis of which you are going to form your research objectives. It means whatever scope, whatever output you are thinking, you are going to align all this together in the form of research question as well as research objective. Objectives make a formal attempt to answer the research question. This is important, that whatever objectives you are forming, it actually gives a very formal attempt to answer the research question. And the moment you come out with some certain answer with the help of research objectives, your research questions are satisfied, and as a researcher, you will be in a stage to come up with some certain conclusions. So this is how research question and research objectives are highly interdependent to each other, and they are mutually as well as supporting to each other in nature. You can see here on the screen, the research question and objectives are not isolated elements. This is important to understand, that they are not isolated element. They form dynamic, evolving partnership. The research question provides the vision, while the objective crafts the path to achieve it. Together, they create a systematic and scientific valid framework for inquiry. This is important to understand, that how they work together. Actually, if you see, it's like two players playing together to achieve some certain thing. It's a two players, those who are playing together to achieve something. They are dynamic and evolving partner. And ultimately, if you think that when you are forming your research objectives, research questions plays a role of evolving partner, because from the research question, actually your research objectives are evolving. So research question provides you the vision, while you form objective, it crafts the path to achieve it. It crafts the path to achieve it, and together you see, they create a systematic and scientific valid framework for inquiry. How you will do it is not only you decide by your objective. एक शोधार्थी अपने शोध में क्या किस तरह की प्रक्रियाओं को अपनाएगा, ये केवल शोध उद्देश्यों से निर्धारित नहीं होता. ये निर्धारित होता है शोध प्रश्नों से, और शोध प्रश्न और शोध उद्देश्य दोनों एक साथ मिलकर एक टीम की तरह काम करते हैं, जहां से रिसर्चर कुछ कंक्रीटाइज करने की स्थिति में आता है और सिस्टमेटिकली और वैज्ञानिक तरीके से उस इंक्वायरी को आगे बढ़ाता है. Translating research question into objective. For a researcher, or a person who is involved into the process of making research proposal, it is interesting thing as well as significant to understand that how to translate research question into objective. Your objective should answer your question through a systematic inquiry. Research question: what are the factors influencing dropout in rural schools? It's a general but simple research question that a research may have, that what are the factors influencing dropouts in rural schools? Objective: to identify and analyze the socio-economic factors leading to dropout in rural schools. Here, one interesting thing that I would like to highlight, that when you are thinking and framing a research question, you can see here that you are not addressing many issues at a time. One single issue you are taking, that what are the factors influencing dropout in rural schools. Rural schools में dropouts के क्या क्या कारक है, आप इनके बारे में सोच रहे हैं, क्या कारक हो सकते हैं, ये एक पर्टिकुलर एक इशू है. And you can see objectives: to identify and analyze the socio-economic factors leading to dropout in rural schools. Here clearly you can see on the screen that research question is corresponding and supporting to objective. Whatever you have formed, whatever objective you have formed here is highly dependent on research question. For example, if research question would change here, that what are the factors influencing the learning style of the students, then ultimately this objective will not retain. You have to change your objective, and that is how we have to understand that research question and objective support each other. ये दोनों एक दूसरे का समर्थन करते हैं, सहायता करते हैं और एक दूसरे को आगे प्रगति करने में सहायता करते हैं. उदाहरण के तौर पर कोई भी उद्देश्य स्वतः अपने आप बनाया नहीं जा सकता, वहां पर कुछ शोध प्रश्न होने ही चाहिए और उन्हीं शोध प्रश्नों के आधार पर एक शोधार्थी अपने रिसर्च उद्देश्यों का निर्माण करता है. How to college student use digital platform for learning? How it corresponds to objectives? To examine the patterns and frequency of digital platform usage among college students. It's another example which will make you more clear that when you are forming a research question, you are laying down a foundation that what kind of objective you are formed and ultimately what you will achieve with objective. That will be answer to the research question. जो भी आप अपने शोध उद्देश्यों से प्राप्त करते हैं वो कुछ नहीं, अल्टीमेटली आपके शोध प्रश्नों का जवाब उत्तर होता है. So you can see clearly how research question is corresponding to objective and how they are formed together. Together means one by one with the proper inclination of each other on each other. Means research question is depending on objective and objective is dependent on research question. Aligning questions and objective, a step-by-step approach. You can make a note also of this thing, that how you are going to make a step-by-step approach and align research question and objectives together. This is very interesting for a research scholar and a researcher to understand that how actually you align your research question and objective together. First is frame your primary research questions or question, whatever you have. Frame it. What is your primary research question? Every research has some fundamental primary research question. On the basis of that, other research questions are emerged as well as objectives of the study will emerge. Break them into sub questions if required. Here, it is not mandatory that every research will have sub questions, because sometimes it depends upon the nature and context of the study. But if possible, if you are looking to go more deeper into the research aspect, researcher may break it into sub questions whenever it is required. Third is, for every research question, objective should reflect what you will investigate. Here you need a proper formalization with the help of a research language and understanding of different key terms, you have to understand this, that how your objectives are going to, what you are going to investigate, how they are reflecting. Because actually your research, your methodology, your sample, your tool, your data analysis and data collection, all things will revolve around the objective, the way you have formed. So be very accurate with this thing, that your objective should reflect what you will investigate. Fourth and last is, ensure no disconnect between research question and objective. They should be matched in meaning and scope. Here, meaning and scope should be seen from various perspectives, that whether your research question and objectives are inclined or not. Means whatever scope you try to make, whatever attempt you try to make with the help of your research question in some certain study, that should be fully justified as well as supported by very formal and to the point research objective. As we have discussed in the previous slide also, that when you form a research objective, it should be dependent and guided by research question. One tip is there, check whether each objective help answer at least one research question. Many a times we form a big research questions, try to address 2-3 questions at the same time, 2-3 questions at the same time. But is it very important for a researcher? ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण होता है कि आप इस बात का बिल्कुल ध्यान रखें कि जो भी रिसर्च क्वेश्चन आप बना रहे हैं, वो रिसर्च क्वेश्चन एक कम से कम एक मुद्दे का सवाल खड़ा करता हो, एक क्वेश्चन आपके सामने रेज करता हो, एंड व्हेन यू आर ट्राइंग टू मेक अ ऑब्जेक्टिव, at least it should answer one research question. It means you can see here how research question and how research objectives are aligned together. You are forming one question and that particular question should be answered by your research objective. Minimum at least one research question should be satisfied or answered with your research objective. And if you can do this, you will ultimately see a mapping, a connecting dot between research question and research objectives. Some examples of research question and objective you can see here. Two examples I have taken. How are gender stereotype construct and manifested with the content of school textbook for class 6 to 8? It's a simple question that I have formed, and on the basis of that you can see how we are going to make objective. To critically analyze the representation of gender roles in middle grades social science textbook. You can see here clearly that when you are making a research question, you can see what major key terms it is containing and what kind of inclination it has, research inclination it has, and on the same ground on the same ground you can see research objective is formed. For example, to critically analyze the representation of gender roles in middle grade social science textbook. Another example you can see here on the screen, research question, what has been the impact of implementation of National Education Policy NEP 2020 on curriculum design in central universities in India? Objective, how your objectives will be formed on the basis of subcertification question to evaluate changes in curriculum component and structure in central universities post implementation of NEP 2020. So you can see it's a very clear cut thing that what you are thinking as a researcher, that this is in my mind, this is the question which will lead me further to conduct a research. You are trying to make an attempt that I will answer this research question with the help of this objective, which is truly and purely relying upon your research question. It's a very important visual map you can see here on the screen, and it shows and reflects that how research questions, objectives, and other components of a research proposal are aligned together. The map actually shows a linear relationship of growing patterns of how objectives grow from research question, how the methodology grows from objectives. It's a very important thing if you understand it properly, means how one component grows from other component. If you understand the intent of this growing pattern, it will become very easy for a researcher to articulate all these things in a very meaningful manner. Let us begin to see here. First of all, definitely you have some research gap. And how you identify research gap, we have already discussed with the help of various kind of a review of literature and different kinds of a reading that you do for understanding a research area. That is research gap. And when you see research gap, it leads to research question. Definitely, when you have a research gap, then ultimately you are moving towards a research question. Here you can understand it as a topic, as a doubt that a researcher has, that you are framing in the form of a research question. It again leads to objective. You can see here, it again leads to objectives, and then it leads to tool design and methods. So it is very clear that whatever you have decide, जो भी आपने निर्धारित किया है, जो भी आपने रिसर्च गैप पाया है, उस रिसर्च गैप के आधार पर ही शोधार्थी एक शोध प्रश्नों का या विभिन्न शोध प्रश्नों का निर्माण करता है, और शोध प्रश्न रिसर्च गैप पे पूरी तरह आधारित होंगे. वट एवर यू हैव आइडेंटिफाइड, जो भी आपने प्राप्त किया है, उन्हीं के आधार पर आप अपने शोध प्रश्नों का निर्माण करते हैं, और शोध प्रश्न आपको ऑब्जेक्टिव बनाने में सहायता करते हैं, या यूं कहें ऑब्जेक्टिव का आधार ही शोध प्रश्न होंगे, रिसर्च क्वेश्चन होगा. क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली जो भी आप ऑब्जेक्टिव बना रहे हैं, उसके जो भी आउटपुट्स आ रहे हैं, दैट आउटपुट्स आर नथिंग, इट्स आंसर टू द रिसर्च क्वेश्चन. जो आपने सवाल, बुनियादी सवाल शुरू में रखा एज अ रिसर्चर, उन्हीं सवालों का, उन्हीं कथनों का एक उत्तर आपको ऑब्जेक्टिव की सहायता से मिलता है. इसका मतलब कहीं ना कहीं आप अगर ध्यान दें तो आप पाएंगे कि उद्देश्य कहीं ना कहीं रिसर्च क्वेश्चन से ही प्राप्त हो रहे हैं, और जैसे आपके उद्देश्य होंगे, बिल्कुल नैसर्गिक रूप से आप वैसे ही प्रकार के टूल, डिजाइन, मेथड्स को इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे, एग्जीक्यूट करेंगे. वट एवर काइंड ऑफ ऑब्जेक्टिव यू हैव, similar kind and similar intent you will have towards tool, design of the study, method of the study, and other component, sample, population, whatever you are trying to do. So it's a very linear relationship and relationship with growing pattern. यहाँ हर component अपने पीछे वाले component पर dependent है. Objectives emerge from research question. Research question emerge from research gap. Mistakes to avoid: mismatch of research question with the objective. कभी भी जब कोई भी शोध प्रश्न हम बना रहे हैं या शोध उद्देश्यों का निर्माण कर रहे हैं, एक बेहतर रिसर्च प्रपोजल के लिए हमें इस बात का ध्यान देना है कि वी विल नॉट मेक अ मिसमैच बिटवीन रिसर्च क्वेश्चन एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव. दोनों एक दूसरे से जुड़े होने चाहिए, और ऑब्जेक्टिव ऐसा होना चाहिए जो आपके शोध प्रश्नों के उत्तर का खोज करे. जो आपने प्रश्न खड़ा किया है, ऑब्जेक्टिव शुड ट्राई एंड मेक अटेम्प्ट टू आंसर योर रिसर्च क्वेश्चन, मेकिंग द ऑब्जेक्टिव मोर एम्बिशियस देन रिसर्च क्वेश्चन. ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है. जो भी ऑब्जेक्टिव आप बना रहे हैं, बहुत ही एम्बिशियस नहीं होना चाहिए. इट शुड बी रिलेटेड टू रिसर्च क्वेश्चन. एंड अगेन वी विल रिकैप इट दैट at least your objective should try to answer minimum one research question. Using vague verbs like to see, to look or to learn etc. हम इस तरह के terms को avoid करेंगे, because they are not going to make a meaningful sense in terms of measuring the things. When you are going to do research, avoid this kind of verbs using in your research question or in the research objective. Having too many objectives for a single research question, ये भी ठीक नहीं है। अगर आप एक शोध प्रश्न के लिए कई सारे उद्देश्य रख रहे हैं, प्रयास करें कि एक रिसर्च क्वेश्चन के लिए एक ऑब्जेक्टिव हो, so that you can have a proper mapping between research question and objective. पर कभी कभी as per the need and demand of the study, you can have different objectives also. It is not mandatory, but when you make it in a more professional manner, it is better to make single research question align with single research objective. Preferred verb likes to examine, to analyze, to explore, and to compare, etc. Concluding discussion for today's lecture. Harmonizing intent and inquiry. This is very important. Try to harmonize what is your intent. Intent means your objective, and what is your inquiry in the form of a research question. Research questions and objectives are two sides of the same coin. Very interesting for a researcher to understand that research question and objectives are two sides of the same coin. They go hand to hand together. Coherence between them gives your research proposal direction and clarity. Third is a good alignment ensures your methodology flow naturally. Whatever you are deciding in the form of a research question objective, it ultimately makes a natural flow towards methodology, that this objective will certainly be achieved by some certain kind of a methodology. And remember, every objective must have a corresponding research question for better clarity and flow. So I hope we have understand and you have a concrete idea about that what is relationship between a research question and research objective. So thank you so much.